Sorry.
was watching Calm Down today, and Erin Andrews was talking about her summer job at like Treasure Island or something and having to like push people down the slide. And she's like
Okay.
touching very gross backs. It was so funny. They were cracking up.
Oh, it sounds
Um,
disgusting. Yeah.
yeah.
All right,
So
how about this? What's the grossest job you've ever done?
I don't know if I've had a gross job.
I had a
Have you?
gross job. I had a gross job.
All right,
My
I'll ask you
first
the question.
Okay. My first job, I was a shampoo girl. So whoever walked in, yeah. And I will tell you, my best tippers were like older ladies because you would just go in it. They loved it. But yeah, that was a pretty gross job. That was pretty disgusting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was awful. What about
So there's been a lot of talk about social media, and I saw something, and I don't know if it's recent or not, but it was Julia Roberts posted a picture of her and her niece. And I
yes.
think it was like a sleepover, and they were having breakfast, and it was a cute picture. And Julia Roberts did not look good in the picture, but she posted it. And I don't think she even cared about how she looked or if she thought she looked bad. But she went online to say that she couldn't believe the comments about how ugly she looked. And why would she post something of herself looking so ugly? And she's like, people just missed the most beautiful point of this post of me being with my niece and how wonderful that was. And then people started fighting in the chat. Don't call Julia
Yeah.
Roberts beautiful, ugly. She's not ugly. She's beautiful. And she was like, it was so upsetting to read and see.
Yeah.
And she said if she wasn't as confident, and maybe I don't know if she said as old as she was, she definitely I think said confident, but how would she have taken that?
Right. Yeah, I remember, and you mentioned this to me, and I went back and I found it, and you're exactly right. She was like, it made me cry. I can't imagine as a 50, whatever she is now, old woman, this is how it made me feel. And mind you, she's a multi gazillionaire, huge celebrity, iconic face, and even she felt insecure and cried. And she said, I can't imagine what it would feel like as a 20 something or, in your teens, what that would feel like. I couldn't agree more. And what I started thinking is like, okay, she's very talented, she's very successful, she's iconic, everyone knows her, and she still felt insecure. So what does it take? Where do people gain their confidence? How do you gain confidence? And just today, a CFO reached out to me. We were connected by another, friend in the industry, and she said, there's not a lot of female CFOs in our industry, and it can be so
My company has
incredibly
one.
lonely. Oh, there you go. See, shout out to them. But it can be very lonely. It can be very lonely because you don't have a whole lot of people you can commiserate with. And then on top of it, you're a woman. So you're playing this game or this balance of being successful, being a woman, having emotional intelligence, but not showing too emotional intelligence, not being too emotional, maybe is a better way to say it. And so she's like, what do you do? And I brought up this Julia Roberts story because I'm like, well, if Julia Roberts can't be confident in 50, at 50 with bazillions of dollars, how the hell are any of us going to do it? So I don't know. What do you think?
So this is what I think. We have this event and every year it's called Women of the Channel, and thousands of women come together that are in the channel industry, in the high tech industry.
Mhm.
And every year they talk about the imposter syndrome and how you doubt, like, how did you get here? Like, am I
Right.
qualified to be here? Is this really, something that I can handle? Where men will apply for any job if they have, you know, 30% of what's on the description, where women think they have to have 100% of what's on the description.
Right.
So I started thinking, like, I'm raising a woman to be confident and secure.
Yeah.
And I hope other women are, and there's a lot of young women in this audience that hopefully are. Why are we talking about imposter syndrome? We're perpetuating it.
Right.
Why do we bring it up? Why don't we talk about the other side of that? And that you are be confident. Just
Right.
you're in the job, do your job. If you do your job, everything's fine. Um, so that's how I feel about that. I have a similar situation that happened to me.
Okay.
And I was on a WebEx and somebody was sharing their screen and wrote to somebody else, "She's so fucking stupid." And I knew they were talking about me.
Yeah.
And I saw it. And I'm as confident in my job as I can be. I am older, and if and I just got off and I cried.
Yeah.
And I knew they didn't like me and I knew that it was happening, but to see it just devastates you. And if I was not my age, I don't think I could have handled that.
Yeah. Yeah. I first of all, I'm sorry that it happened. I can't even imagine. I just today I was talking to an executive at a very large company. They just got done with a massive acquisition, and this person said, there's a Reddit page out there about me, about how terrible I am because of this acquisition. And then someone posted it on LinkedIn, and someone posted and posted and posted and kept going. And you realized, the more successful you get, and I'm learning this myself, um, there's going to be some serious haters that are coming out against you. There are going to be people who are going to say things about you that are wrong, that are just blatantly wrong.
Right.
In fact, I was just talking to a very good friend of mine. He's very close friends. Well, in any event, I was just talking to a very close friend of mine, and he's got his own Wikipedia page and all that kind of stuff, and has done some really cool stuff, especially with a couple of our presidents and stuff like that. And he was accused of doing something, and he's like, it was an accusation, it wasn't true. But the higher up you get, and I even know this, I see my competitors coming after me, trying to say the most visceral things where you go, wait a minute, what does that have anything to do with anything? But I do think that the higher up you get, the more people want to say nasty things about you. It's just part of it. The other
And
thing
why
that
do they feel that they can? You even look at like,
oh,
and I know this topic is talked about so much, but you look at Taylor Swift. That poor girl just wants to go to a football game and support her boyfriend. And why can't she do that? Why are you complaining? She's on the TV screen for 10 seconds. Like,
right,
what are you complaining about? And what a great example to show of two people that care about each other and love each
yeah,
other and support each other. They have such big jobs, but they find time for each other to fly across the world to
yeah,
be there to support each other. How is that not a good message for young people?
right,
What are you complaining about?
right. It's so true. And you go, well, wait a minute, then what would you rather have? You didn't like her when she was single. You don't like her now that she's in a relationship. But that's the whole point is, again, why do they feel like they can? I don't know. I think in a lot of ways because some people get away with it. I think people feel like, well, you're in the public eye, so I can say whatever I want. I think it makes them probably feel empowered, is my guess.
Well, you
Um,
always hear that, I guess, about bullies that, it is to make them feel better.
and I think there are certain people that have just been able to get away with it for so long that they don't even realize that it's a problem. They don't even think it's a problem. It's awful, but I think it's the truth. Um, you did say something else that I think is really important is why do we talk about imposter syndrome so much? Shouldn't we be talking about how to build confidence and confidence skills and networking and things like that? I think there's a natural place for over rotation or over rotating on topics because it forces the topic into the public eye. So I think like diversity, equity, and inclusion or DEI, that was a big buzzword that now it's like, okay, let's reel back a little bit and figure out how we add substance to these topics.
Right.
But I think that's an example of where we've had to over rotate a little bit to just be able to admit that some of us feel like imposters. Again, like I said, I talked to a CFO today who was like, I have massive imposter syndrome. And that's when I brought up the Julia Roberts thing that's going on. And I'm like, well, then how do women bring up their confidence? How do anybody bring up their confidence? So I don't know, but I think that's an excellent point that you bring up, which is maybe we should slow our roll on over rotating. We've identified imposter syndrome is a thing. Now let's figure out how we do something about it,
Right.
you know? So what do you think? How do you build that? How do you do it?
You need a support group. I think women need to help women,
Yeah.
and that's what it's going to take. And like just that conversation, somebody saying that to you, and you're like, why? Like think, just stop and think. Look at your education, look at your experience, look at your title. What, you didn't just get there by accident. You think somebody?
Right.
How was somebody else believing in you more than you're believing in yourself?
Right.
Why is that the case?
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think that again, this goes back to the topic we were just talking about because the CFO was saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting my own thing," and I'm like, just know you're going to have even more haters. You're going to have, and the more successful you get, you're going to get even more haters. So if you don't believe in yourself, guess what? Even the people who used to believe in you, they're going to become quiet to the noise that's going to be around you. My competitors would love to see me fail. I know it. They're actively trying to do it. And it's at a global scale, even with these, like giant hyperscalers or think of any big brand, whether you're in retail or pick anything. There are competitive war rooms trying to figure out how to break your message and your brand down.